Everyone, good morning. Happy Friday. This is the third installment of my learning of Mishna D'mai in honor of the memory of Lea Andersen, Zichrona Livracha. And today is also the day that Ezra Furman's new album, All of Us Flames, is being released. So that's exciting, and you should check it out. If you don't know who Ezra Furman is, you should definitely check her out also. Okay, so let's get right into it with a little bit of review. I thought it would be good to have a set of tracking a list of questions that I'm asking on this Masachet as we go. So the main question I had on the first Mishnah, Hakalin Shebetzmai, why? I'll scroll up. The questions. Well, the main question I had on the first Mishnah was, why does the Masachet start with leniencies? It's like, this is what you can be lenient with D'mai about. And then in the second Mishnah, first of all, I wanted to correct something that I said yesterday. I explained yesterday that the phrase "venot no la'am haaretz veyochal kenegdo" means that you in Jerusalem give some food from your maaser sheni that you're going to eat to an am haaretz who's doubtfully in a state of tahara. You can give it to them to eat with you, in front of you, in Jerusalem. That's how I explained Veyochal Kenegdo. Kahati, who I checked, and that didn't seem to fit with the rest of all of these, which are basically treating the D'mai produce as if you didn't really actually need to take the Maaser Sheni from the D'mai, you only did it doubtfully. And this all seems to be kind of assuming, that you didn't need to do that, but the way I explained this one, it assumes that you actually did need to take Maaser Sheni from this produce, and therefore it's actually valid Maaser Sheni produce. Because the other ones assume it's not actually valid Maaser Sheni produce, you didn't need to take it. The Am Haaretz you got it from already did that. So Kahati explains that when it says Veyochal Kenegdo, it doesn't mean and the Am Haaretz will eat it in front of you. It means, according to Kahati, that you will get food corresponding to the food you gave the Am Haaretz to replace that food that you gave away to eat. Okay, and in that sense, it doesn't necessarily conflict with the way the rest of the Mishnah is understanding all of this stuff. So a kind of broader question I have on this one is, what does it mean to be lenient about a stringency that is only there because we assume other people are being lenient, aren't holding as fully as aren't holding the same kind of observance that we in the rabbinically educated elite circles are holding. A way of saying this in yeshivish would be like, why am I being mekalet on a chumrah that only exists because the people I'm interacting with aren't makpid on ma'asrot? I don't exactly know how to type that because it's kind of long, but like, what does it mean to be to have a chumrah or like allowing you to be in community with people who don't hold like you, and then kind of going off of that, what does it mean to be lenient about that? Okay, those are a couple questions I'm holding. Let's get into the third Mishnah of the first parak. Okay. Halokech lezera veliv hema kemach laorot shemen lener shemen lasuch bo et hakelim patur min hadmai. So according to Kahati, it seems like you need to take ma'asrot from agricultural produce that you acquire with the intention of eating it yourself. But if you take it from other things, if you take the same agricultural produce with the intention of using it for the following things, they are exempt from D'mai, meaning that produce is exempt from you taking out ma'asrot from it because you assume that the Am Haaretz who you got it from didn't do that, even though they were supposed to from your point of view. So if you get produce from an Am Haaretz for the purpose of zera, sowing the seed, veliv hema, for feeding your animal, kamach leorot, for flour for hides, which I guess is some process in turning an animal's skin into a hide, shemen laner, oil for your candle, shemen lasuchbo et hakelim, oil to anoint your vessels, and Kati explains to anoint your vessels to protect them from rust. All of those purposes, if you take produce for those purposes, they are exempt from D'mai. You don't need to take any ma'asrot from them because you're not using it to eat for yourself from. Okay, and then some other things that are exempt from D'mai. Mi ksiv ulehalan patur min hadmai. Ksiv is understood to mean achziv, which is a place. And there's a lot of details about what achziv or ksiv is and why it is a place that from that point onwards you are exempt from D'mai from. And it seems to have to do with the whole inyan that ma'asrot only apply in Eretz Yisrael. And if you're outside of Eretz Yisrael, you're not chayav in ma'asrot. You don't need to take these taxations for the temple and for the Levim and for the poor if you're not in Eretz Yisrael. And it seems like ksiv is somehow not falling in that category, so it's exempt from D'mai. Chalat am haaretz vehameduma vehalakuach bekasef ma'aser sheni ushyarei hamenachot pturin min hadmai. Okay, so if you somehow end up with challah from an Am Haaretz, which doesn't mean challah like the bread you eat on Shabbos, it is related to that, but it means the portion of flour that when you're baking bread, if you bake enough flour, then you take out a portion of that bread, of that flour of the dough for the kohanim. That's called challah. So when an Am Haaretz takes challah, you don't need to, and you get that, you don't need to take ma'asrot from it out of safek for D'mai. Vehameduma, this is if you end up with truma produce. You've set aside produce for truma that gets mixed in with your regular everyday produce. And if it's above a certain amount, you consider all of that produce that it's been mixed in with as truma level produce. That's called meduma. Meduma produce is exempt from d'mai because it all goes to the kohen. V'halakuach b'kasef ma'aser sheni, anything you buy with the money that you got by selling the produce you set aside from Aser Sheni to buy food with again in Jerusalem, anything you get with that money is exempt from d'mai. Ushyarei hamanachot, any leftovers from a mincha offering, these are all exempt from d'mai. And it seems to me like what unites all of these things is that they are all obviously already in the category of truma or maaser, and if they end up there as being truma or maaser, the only way they could get there was if they were already tithed properly, so d'mai wouldn't apply. That seems to make sense to me. Shemen arev, Beit Shammai mechayavin uVeit Hillel potrin. So we've got a machloket, and I don't know what shemen arev is. It's like, seems to mean mixed oil. Let me see. Shemen arev, shemen hamaftum babsamim shenilkach ma'am haaretz. So it's oil that's been mixed with fragrances that was taken from an am haaretz. Beit Shammai obligates you in d'mai la'aser mishum d'mai lefi mishtamshim bo l'sika. Okay, there's a word I don't know. I don't know what sikan. Sicha. Oh, anointing. Like, okay. Lasuchbo. This is chayav and d'mai because you are taking it for the purposes of anointing. And Beit Hillel potrin oto min had'mai lefi she'eno omed la'achila ela l'sika bilvad v'lo gazur alav mishum d'mai. So Beit Hillel exempts it from d'mai because shemen arev, this fragranced oil, is only going to be used for anointing and not for eating at all, and therefore Beit Hillel exempts it. So that seems to me to be like Shammai and Hillel are holding a little differently on when d'mai applies to something. Is it for eating or for anointing? Or is it for eating, and if you anoint something with it, then it also would apply, but it has to be primarily for eating? Maybe. Okay. That's all of this Mishnah. It's all about taking, this is a situation that looks the same. You're taking produce from an am haaretz, and you're not sure whether it's had its maaser taken from it properly or not. But the difference is when you get it from them, you're getting it from them for the purpose of non-food, non-human consumption purposes. And that's really clear in this first set. You're getting this food for non-human consumption purposes. So maybe we can make a list. So times that d'mai is not applicable: 1, acquired for non-human consumption. 2, if it's in a place where d'mai is not, where maasrot are not applicable at all. And then there's this set of things where you can be sure that whatever tithing needed to be done on this food has been done. Like, we could call that circumstantial confirmation of tithing. That's kind of a guess. I haven't thought about it really deeply enough. And then there's Shemen Arev, where we seem to have a machloket about the boundaries of this first one, acquired for non-human consumption. Does that mean, does anointing fall into the category of human consumption or not? Is acquiring for anointing part of the D'mai Chomer? Okay, so that seems to be what's going on here. This Mishnah is all about when we don't need to take D'mai, which is wild because that's like the same, like Mishnah 2 was, what don't we need to do when we take D'mai? And the whole first Mishnah was, when can we be lenient about D'mai? So we've got 3 Mishnayot so far in a row that are all about not needing to do this, or other ways that D'mai is like not as serious as a full Ma'aser Sheni, like a full Ma'aser situation. Again, just a fascinating way to start the Masechet. Okay. That's all I've got for today. This learning is the sponsor, or I'm doing this learning in memory and for the sake of the uplift of the soul of Lea Yocheved bat Avraham B'Sara. And in general, all of the learning at Tea for Torah is sponsored in memory of these beloved neshamas via Patreon. I will not be learning on Shabbos, so I will see you all back here on Sunday, maybe a little bit later, like 10:30 on Sunday, for